got it! This time I really got it!
So you got it. So what we're gonna do?
Put a ticket in and make a name and gay!
Oh, Disney. For almost 70 years, Mickey Mouse has been the primary mascot for the company. Mickey was created in 1928 by Walt Disney and iWorks. I learned while researching for this video that Mickey had replaced a previous mascot, a character from 1927 named Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. As we reach the end of 2023, Disney has stumbled and blundered its way through the past few years, milking familiar properties with diminishing returns. The acquisitions of Star Wars and Marvel have been discussed in no short supply, but a reckoning is approaching as flop after flop piles on. Budgets spin out of control, theme park attendance declines, and political divisiveness has limited and partitioned audience attraction. These factors and more have put the company at a financial crossroads that would have been unthinkable even 5 years ago. Meanwhile, Shakespearean levels of conflict and drama afflict the board and leadership of the company. It's a new age, so perhaps a new mascot is in order. It's been a long time, so maybe a tall order for the company. So why not a quartet? My recommendation to Disney, who I'm sure are listening closely, the vultures from the Jungle Book. Pecking away at the remains of a depleting carcass, finding itself less and less welcome in the living rooms of families.
Yeah, we know how you feel.
Nobody wants us around either.
Why not? No, this is not a sincere suggestion, but rather an indictment of how low the shining star has fallen. Now, exploring how we got here and how the company could course correct is a Herculean undertaking, and I'm not going to do that just now. But what I am going to do is take a close look at the story that was the first of the live-action remakes, The Jungle Book. I've also read that book for this video and watched the most recent live-action version.
Had I known how deeply I was to be involved, I would have obeyed my first impulse and walked away.
Now, having established that Disney is picking at the corpse of its past work, some of which has shaped our culture in deep and meaningful ways, it's worth noting that The Jungle Book was the last film worked on by Walt himself, as the man died during its production. So, is this why I've decided to explore The Jungle Book? Well, if I'm to be honest, I did not know that until working on this video. But that's serendipity for you. It feels like a great deal of discussion and internet commentary has circulated on Disney films, but it struck me that the depths of The Jungle Book simply have more to explore. Okay, onward.
Let's get on with it! Right face! Forward march!
The plot to the 1968 film begins with Bagheera finding an infant Mowgli. The story starts off really wholesome, as Bagheera narrates.
A family of wolves I knew had been blessed with a litter of cubs.
This is so charming, and I have a hard time imagining current day Disney
No! Current day!
deeming babies as blessings. Indeed, the 2016 version skips infancy and has Mowgli racing with wolves through the woods, learning to traverse the jungle more effectively than his already superhuman parkour skills allow. He needs a people, we are told, as opposed to a family. It takes a village, am I right?
No offense, but it sounds like some commie gobbledygook.
In the original book, it's kind of a mix of both. Baby Mowgli, just barely walking, daggers into the wolf cave to the amusement of those creatures. Shere Khan, with his lackey jackal Tabaqui, is hunting the infant child, somehow separated from his family. But Mowgli reaches the cave before he is tracked. The wolves claim him, and the cave is too narrow for Shere Khan to fit comfortably inside, especially for a fight. So he barks threats and sows the seeds for discord, warning that a man cub will disrupt the pack. The Shere Khan of the book is a somewhat less regal figure, although he is still very proud and aggressive. He suffers from one lame foot ever since birth, calling to mind Shakespeare's Richard III.
Yeah.
His dislike of fire is much less central. He recently had burned his feet jumping over a woodcutter's camp flame. Disney used to be a family company and a cultural leader. Its legacy is bound to generations of childhoods, and I think it's no exaggeration to say it has not only been formative for individuals, but cumulatively substantial in the impact to overall Western civilization's identity. And no, not just for cringeworthy Disney adults. But sadly, the gradual erosion of standards, the dilution and debasement of creativity, and a failure to understand why masterpieces were great to begin with threatens to ruin a company that turned 100 just this year on October 16th. Exploring this history alongside a journey through time looking at Mowgli's stories has been educational.
Good show.
Rudyard Kipling published his writings in 1894, so the first live-action version of The Jungle Book came out just as these stories were moving into the public domain. The stories are written for children, but it seems like the literacy level would have to have been more advanced back then. We like to think we're very smart now, but perhaps our time on TikTok and, yes, YouTube mean we're actually more distracted than we are informed. The collection includes the Mowgli stories, but also others, including Rikki-Tikki-Tavi, which I will be exploring in the next video. The Disney company worked on getting the rights to the Jungle Book in the early 60s, following the underrated Sword in the Stone. Walt Disney increased his own involvement based on that film's lukewarm reception. His creative vision differed greatly from that of Bill Peet, the original storyboard artist who had been attached to Disney since 1937's Snow White. Pete ended up quitting after an argument over the Jungle Book on his birthday in 1964.
I give the commands around here. I'll speak up. Who was it?
Pete had read the book and was doing a darker, more brooding interpretation, whereas the final product was what Walt wanted. And that did pay off. Since becoming public domain, there have been many non-Disney versions that have come out, and while I haven't seen them, they don't look very good. The cartoon actually has a lot of differences from the book.
But Winifred, old girl, that's an entirely different matter. Different, entirely.
Walt told his team that it was good that they hadn't read the book. Don't. And then went on to explain in broad strokes what the story was, and how he wanted to translate it. This became what we know today. And you really can't argue with the results. Well, perhaps you can. Disney Plus now streams The Jungle Book and has this warning at the start of the movie.
That's what friends are for.
Denigrating the accomplishments based on the assumption that current-day preferences are superior, putting a trigger warning before The Jungle Book, while happily capitalizing on the familiarity, nostalgia, and warm regards it keeps.
No, I can't be bothered with that. I have no time for that sort of nonsense.
Walt Disney was not a perfect man, nor is Bob Iger, nor will a diverse female be if they decide to put one of those in charge.
What? A female leading my herd? Utterly preposterous.
While it's more obviously pervasive today, cultural ingrates have been whining for many years now.
You sorry little ingrates!
I recall when the 2016 film was coming out, an insufferable Gawker Media IO9 writer wrote that The Jungle Book is imperialist garbage. The men who created older Disney films were so much better than anything this nitwit has ever cobbled together. That writer has abandoned assaults on beloved properties and is now using her brain-dead takes for nonprofits to influence government. Taste is personal, and not everyone will like the same things. But in this YouTuber's opinion, those who malign Walt Disney and Rudyard Kipling have nothing to offer themselves. The cultural creators who dreamed up these stories, faults and all, are legends.
Bravo, bravo. An extraordinary performance.